السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله Sheikh.
ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Sisters, how are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, we are good. We are not able to see you. Is that okay?
Yeah, I know. The camera is not on. I'll turn it on in a little bit.
Okay.
I haven't been to the masjid yet, but I am on the speaker, so
Okay.
no issue, inshallah, about me. And I will open it shortly.
Okay, Jazakallah. Thank you.
Yeah, inshallah. So, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala wa ba'd. Inshallah, as you know, if you are following with the Masjid Salam theme of the month, self-awareness, self-development. And they are in that exact order. You will not be able to self-develop unless you are self-aware. Who can tell me self-awareness? What do you know about self-awareness? I just want to know what is your current information about self-awareness.
I'm sorry, there's an echo. I did not understand. The current story about what?
What do you know about self-awareness?
I'm not understanding that.
So the Sheikh is asking about self-awareness. What do we know about self-awareness?
Okay, thank you.
Please post it in writing, Sister Mariam.
Yes, I can do that too.
So if anyone able to speak, please do so. If you prefer writing it, please do so. And don't search on Google. Just tell me what you know. Okay? Because I know Google we all can read from Google. I just want what you know. Nobody wants to speak?
It's about knowing about yourself, being able to define your identity and your presence.
Okay. Who else?
Like
Anybody else?
how you're feeling emotionally and physically, just knowing your mental health.
How you feeling emotionally? What else? Who else? Let me ask you another way. Because if you do not know what is self-awareness, you do not know if you are aware of yourself or not. What does that word mean to you? If I ask you, are you self-aware? Would you answer yes or no? I want everybody's participation here. This is a serious deal.
I think it's an ongoing process. You have to work at it to understand what you're here on.
What is the ongoing process? How do you know it is an ongoing process if you cannot define it?
To understand your purpose here in this world, to understand what you are all about. Why are you here? What is your goal? Where are you going?
I believe it's I believe it's the dialogue that you have within yourself, being able to talk to yourself and be able to define yourself.
Well, good. Now we are getting closer. What else? See, that is the point. The more you exert effort thinking, then you will know eventually that you understand this, but you do not know this and that. But there is something if you know. Everybody knows who they are, but they cannot define it. They will not ask the question. They don't want to face it. Sometimes they are afraid to discover themselves, you know. So, but everybody knows. But we need that's why we're studying it. We're studying it so we make best out of it. We can eliminate negative stuff and we bring positive aspect of it. Understand? So please tell me more. Are you aware of yourself? Are you here? Do you know who you are? If I ask you,
Sheikh, I
So
read
you know who
somewhere.
you are. And the next question,
I read somewhere it's in Urdu, but I'll try to translate. Someone said that, a scholar said that the ultimate self-awareness is the knowledge that where you will be on the day of judgment, like which group you'll be. You know, like that's self-awareness, and also knowing the soul. That's the real reality of your own. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the things that are in the unseen, but they are real.
very good. So self-awareness is to know your ultimate destination, where you're going to be, right?
Yes.
And how would you know that?
Through the divine knowledge.
Say it again.
Through the divine knowledge.
Through
What
your
does that
action.
mean?
Through
So you
God
have
is knowledge, God.
So through the divine knowledge, it will tell you if you do such and such, that's where you're going to be at the end, right?
Right.
And what you're going to do with that information.
Act upon it, try to act upon it.
But how would you know that what you need and what you do not need?
By knowing where you stand at the present, by acknowledging your present state.
Here is self-awareness. That is the beginning of self-awareness. Now we understand, sisters? You see the process of conversation? So self-awareness, to know where you're going, you have to know where you are. Otherwise, you're not aware. Okay, we all know that we need to go to Jannah, don't we?
Yes.
We have the Quran in front of us and we're reciting. If you do such and such, you go to Jannah. If you do such and such, you go to hellfire. If you do such and such, you are disobedient. Right? But why people still fail to do that? Because they are not reflecting and observing themselves currently, in the present time. Always they are in the dreamland in the future, or they are stuck in the past. Whatever they did, good or bad, they're stuck. Oh, I am good. I used to do hifz of Quran. I am from a practicing family. My family is such and such. My father raised me very well. That's past. Oh, we are future. I'm dreaming of Jannah. I'm dreaming with a husband. I'm dreaming with children. I'm dreaming to retire a millionaire. Whatever it is. So it's either dreaming of the future, right? And hoping for it. There's nothing wrong with that. Or reflecting on the past, which is nothing wrong with that. But what are you doing about the present? The observation, the process of observing. I'm not talking about fixing or deciding whether you are right or wrong. Just observing. Observing what is happening. Observing your patterns. That is self-awareness. Where are you in the present time? What is your thought process? What is your emotion right now? How are you feeling right now about this class? What does it cause? What does it entice in you? Like, what is evoke? So when I'm talking like this, it's not a question. Yani. If there is a question, I'm gonna tell you it's the question. I need your answer. Okay? So what I'm saying is, like, where are you in the present time? That is self-awareness. You have to observe yourself. Okay, what does this class evoke in you? Every time I attend Sheikh Mamdouh's class, it makes me excited, it makes me empowered, it makes me depressed. I lose track, I get bored. You know, that's an observation. You're not judging the class. You're not judging yourself. Who's wrong? You are observing. Observing what is happening is not analyzing it. Because analyzing it, most of the time, we jump to conclusions. That's what you will need for self-development later. But self-awareness, you just kind of observing and taking notes. You know what? Whenever I drive on the freeway, this is what happens to me. You know, every time I miss the exit. Every time I drive speeding, I panic. Every time I see a truck beside me, this is what happens. That's called self-awareness. I hope it is clear. I'm giving you different examples from religious, from, you know, your normal life. Every time, you know, I'm meeting a deadline, I'm under pressure, I'm not happy. Every time I cook food, that's what happens. Every time my child cries, that's what happens. That's called self-awareness. Is that clear, or anybody have a question on that aspect?
That's clear.
I just asked a question now.
Yeah. I love the fact that we're talking about observing of the patterns, like so we know ourselves, like how we react to things, no matter what the situation, how we normally react. That's a pattern on how our behavior is.
Yes, but here is the catch. If you start reacting to that pattern, you are not still self-aware. Okay? Why? Because you know, let's say, I'm going to give you an example here.
Mhm.
Every time I go to the masjid, I'm talking about myself now. I'm just going to give you a practical example here. I even though there is a sign saying, in a meeting, do not disturb. You got the idea? So I am in my office. Every time I go to the masjid, like I'm going now, I'm going to enter the my office. And because I'm teaching your class, it's outside the door saying, in a meeting, do not disturb. Right? So now people will still keep knocking on the door. That disturbs me. That
Yes.
irritates me because I have to keep moving. They will not stop knocking on the door. And I cannot open the door because I'm teaching. So one of two things. It's either keep them knocking on the door because they're not going to stop until I open. People learned that already. They will not stop knocking until I open. And then I am in the class. So the only option is to disturb the class and go open the door and tell them I'm in the class. They said, oh, I'm sorry, Sheikh, and they leave. Same exact people, they're going to come tomorrow and knock again.
Oh, that's terrible.
So where is, how can I apply my self-awareness here? Like, describe self-awareness for me.
Maybe as soon as they knock, you just go and tell them that you're busy instead of waiting.
See, that is the mistake I'm talking about. You already jumped to the solution. See, I got you. And that's exactly what I'm doing. You just told me what I'm doing, right? Because I explained that to you. I go out and tell them, and I'm in a class, and they say, I'm sorry, Sheikh, but they keep coming again. So my self-awareness is that I just observed that pattern as I described it to you. So I'm self-aware that I am irritated. Did you hear me when I said I'm irritated?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right? So I am irritated. Now, going out to them is not solving my irritation. Did it solve my irritation? Because they're going to come and talk and knock next day. And another person and another person and another person is not the same person. So was the problem solved? There are
No.
two problems. People who keep knocking, and I am being irritated from them keep knocking, even though there is a sign. So why am I irritated now? Go ahead, sister. There was one sister who was started speaking while I'm speaking. You want to say something? Okay. So nobody wants to say something. All right. So who's that speaking again? So you can mute yourself. If you don't want to speak, please mute yourself. Can everybody mute themselves, please? All right. So what I'm trying to say is this. I observe that I, Sheikh Mamdouh, get irritated because there is a sign. I'm expecting that this sign supposed to serve a purpose that it is not serving. And now these people who keep knocking on the door, right? They are causing that issue for me. So now everybody suggests, what do I do with people? Right? What do I do with people? That is a step way after self-awareness. We act on those things because we're not self-aware. I need to solve the problem of my irritation first. That this is part of my job. That is what I'm here for. I should not be irritated because I'm dealing with the community. Not everybody understand everything. We are not in the army here. Even there is a sign, people do not read the sign. I have to give them the benefit of doubt. No issue, because I am in the masjid. I am teaching you a class online. You understand that I'm in my office. So it is much, much easier if I cut the class. I told you, wait for a minute, somebody's knocking in the door, and I take it in a humorous way, and I go tell them, yeah, how may I help you? I'm in a class now. And that's it. So one person at a time, I solve the problem. But the issue is not teaching people here not to knock on the door. The issue is to teach myself, Sheikh Mamdouh, not to be irritated. That is the self-awareness. Leads to self-development. Once you're self-aware and you self-develop, then you are going to talk about how to understand people's emotions and how to socially develop how to deal with them. But we jump to the last step on how we deal with people before we understand ourselves first. Does it make sense now, or still complicated?
No, it makes sense that you want to first control what you control yourself first, and you want to be accommodating first before you can make accommodations for others.
But before you control yourself, you have to understand what you're going to control. That is self-awareness. Self-awareness, you are doing nothing. You're just observing what needs to be dealt with. Now, dealing with it is a self-development step. So self-awareness, you are not doing anything. You are not doing anything at all. Self-awareness is a thought process about you. Every time this happens, I'm happy. Every time this happens, I'm sad. Every time I see this person, I'm irritated. Every time my husband comes, I'm under pressure. Every time before I go to sleep, that's what happens. And you keep writing those things. Now you are aware of yourself. What are the ins and outs, the good and the bad, and all that? You have a list. You know who you are and how you act, interact, and react. Just that's it. You are describing yourself. That's it. What is needed from you in this step is to be able to describe who you are, what you do in different situations. Don't solve any problem, and don't be happy about any results, and don't be anxious about any result. You are just being aware of who you are at all times. What is happening to you? So whenever I'm entering the masjid, I know exactly the feelings that I'm going to have until I get home. What do I do about them is not the issue now. This is not this step. What I'm going to do when I enter the masjid, when I go start the salah, no, I observed my pattern. Like, I was talking to the brothers in the masjid. I don't know if any of you were present in the Isha last Sunday. So I was telling the brothers that it does not matter what time we change the prayer, still the same people will come and join in the second rak'ah. You following, sisters?
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
You're following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Isha is 9 o'clock, people will come 9:05. If Isha is 9:15, people will come 9:20. If Isha is 10 o'clock, people will come 10:05. Why?
Because it's procrastination, right? They're going to procrastinate either.
But
No
why
matter
do
what.
they procrastinate?
Bad habits.
Why there is a bad habit? Do you think they know it is a bad habit, yet they still do it?
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
You're
I
not
don't
aware.
think so. Don't, you have to give people benefit of doubt.
They need to work on something, obviously, yeah.
They are not self-aware. Here you go. They are not self-aware. They know they are late. They do. But are they observing the pattern? No. It is just in their head, the thought process. There is nothing wrong with it. They know that Isha is going to be at that specific time, regardless what time it is. Early, late, this, that, 8 or 9 or 7, it does not matter. They will start their process of doing wudu, driving their car, and coming to the masjid at a certain time in relation to the prayer time. Am I clear? So whenever Isha is 9 o'clock and they are like 5 minutes away from the masjid, right? They start the process at 8:55 and they end up taking 5 minutes and then 5 minutes to the masjid. They will come late 5 minutes. So they are not self-aware of that pattern. They are not self-aware. They just do it. And they end up coming late. So they are not self-aware of that they start the process the same exact way, regardless of time. They only give themselves 10 minutes before the iqamah to get ready and come to the masjid. They actually need 15 minutes, but they give themselves 10 minutes only. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why they're not self-aware. They are not intentionally, I don't think there is a Muslim in good mind that intentionally want to come late to the salah, even though they are able to come early. I want you to understand that nobody in their good mind say, you know what? I prefer every salah, I join in the second rak'ah. Do you think there's someone like that?
Not intentionally, no.
Exactly. But why they keep doing it for years and years and years?
I think they're in a bad pattern. I'm just going to give an example. My husband is there 20 minutes before any salat, and I'm there just on time. This is a constant struggle between us.
But why?
I don't know.
Exactly. See, you don't know because you did not observe what happens. You don't have to observe. If you observe the process, you'll answer that question. If you observe the process from the morning, from the time you wake up in the morning, observe every single little thing about your life, and you will know what it leads to that. And you will see that it is not happening in Salah only. Okay? You'll see that it's not happening in Salah only. Maybe something in the relationship that's causing that. Maybe there is something about prayer that is causing that. But you need to observe. So self-awareness is basically the observation process. You're taking notes. You describe what is happening. You're not saying it is a problem or it is not a problem. You describe what is happening. Me, I am doing this. I wake up in the morning every day, regardless what time I go to bed, I will wake up at that time. That's an observation, right? Now, is it a bad habit or not? We decide that later. What do I need to do about it? We decide that later. How I'm going to fix it? We decide that later. But first you have, and the more of those patterns and the more of these things that you observe about yourself. Okay, let me open the camera right now.
Alaikum assalam.
All right, so the more you are aware of more of those patterns, you become more self-aware. People who are self-aware, they are more relaxed because they know, they're expecting what's going to happen next. I'm not talking about I'm not saying what is good and what is bad. We're not talking about that yet. But this self-awareness is very, very, very important, right? So now we understand so far what is self-awareness. Self-awareness is just to observe, right? It's just to observe. You know, if you don't need to make judgments. The main issue with dispute resolution or problem resolution is that you define something as a problem and you jump to solving it, and that's the problem. Men and women, they function differently. I think we established that already. So men, they are solution oriented, meaning you tell a man, you know what, there is an issue with my car. So take it to the mechanic. You know, the drain, the kitchen drain is something. Let me look at it, and they'll bring the stuff. So basically, they are always problem oriented, solution oriented, problem solving oriented. Women more about details and description. They want to describe the issue more than solving the issue. They want somebody to listen. They just want the attention sometimes. Maybe sometimes she knows how to solve the problem, but she wants to make the man aware of the issue. This is what she's looking for. She's not explaining that because, the man thinks in a different way. So if she's self-aware of how she thinks, and this guy in front of her is not a woman, then she will understand why he's acting the way he's acting. And if he is self-aware that he's a man and the person in front of him is a woman who does not function like that, then subhanAllah, everything will be fine. I'm not talking husband and wife only. I'm talking in general. But that is the issue. There was a movie. I'm not agreeing with everything in the movie, but what do women want or something like that? Like, this guy started like getting into the head of all the women and reading their thoughts, hearing their thoughts loud and clear, right? So he was disturbed in the beginning, but then, he went to a psychiatrist or someone said, if men are from Mars and women are from Venus and you speak Venusian, that means you control. You can rule, because now you know what women are thinking and you're going to answer whatever they're thinking. I wish he just can listen. He's talking and giving me solution. I just wish he can sit down, be quiet, and listen. I would just vent and I'm going to be okay. That is what you are thinking as a woman inside, but you're not saying that to the man. So now he is listening to that, right? So he will just be quiet and you will be happy, and he's happy that he made you happy. But why we have to go with that movie if we actually understand that about each other? But I have to be aware of myself. I am a man, she's not. I am a sheikh, this person is not. You see? I am the imam of the masjid, but they are the community members. Their need is pressing, not necessarily for me. So basically, I am self-aware of what happens. Then I need to take the next step to develop myself and find the solutions. Right? There are two types of self-awareness. There is internal self-awareness. Internal self-awareness, this how you clearly see your own values, passions, aspirations, how you fit them with your environment, your reactions, including thoughts, feelings, behaviors, strengths and weaknesses, and their impact on others. See, observing that, being aware of that. I know about my thoughts. I know about my values, about my passion. What is your value as a Muslim? What is your value in regards to family? See, most of our problems because we do not have answers for those questions, or we're not pondering upon them. I want you to sit every day and think about those things. Like, what am I doing in this life to my spouse, to my family, to my community, to my neighbors? What are the values that actually I believe in? If there is one value, what would it be? Truthfulness, honesty, and why? See, this is, as one of the sisters said, the conversation, the continuous dialogue you have with yourself. That is exactly what is the self-awareness. So, but that's internal self-awareness. So you are aware of yourself and what you do and all of that. Second category of awareness is the external self-awareness. Now, external self-awareness, still self-awareness, right? But I am dealing with you now. My sister's class, sister's mentorship class, how you view me. I need that feedback. That will help me with my self-awareness as well. Because I'm aware of my own thought process, but I'm not aware how beneficial I am to you. That's also belonging to me. I need to know how impactful I am on you. So I need that feedback. That's where the surveys, that's where the constant questions. So I have those factors I mentioned. My values are 1, 2, 3. This is what irritates me. This is what calms me down, and that's what we do. So now I know about myself, that part internally. But do you see that in me? Do you see that I'm irritated or not? Yes. And what does that cause you? When you are irritated, Sheikh, it looks on you, and you're not focused, you're not this, you're not that. Oh, now you give me feedback that I am not paying attention to. This is a pattern I cannot observe. In your eyes. How do I look like in your eyes? That pattern I cannot find out by myself. I see myself only from inside. But you are like my mirror. So Sheikh, like in the class, when you are in a good mood, that's what happens. But when you are not in a good mood, that's what happens. That's why there has to be constant feedback from the people you're dealing with. For your own self-awareness, we still have not done anything. You're just getting that feedback. Now, what does that feedback how that feedback will make you react? That's your internal. Again, so every time somebody give me feedback that I don't like, I get irritated. And it keeps coming like that. It's like a cycle. So how others see you. So those people who become very skilled in that second type, which is external self-awareness, they become very skilled on how to deal with people in the future. They will know how to deal with people. Because I know how you see me. That's what will make me deal with you in a certain way. So when I enter the masjid, I know how the senior uncles, they see me. And I know how the senior aunties, they see me. Completely different. There's still a gap between me and the senior sisters in the masjid. There's many factors. I'm observing that they're on another side. They don't come as often to the masjid. Also, the men and women kind of, relationship in Islam and all of that. And the culture also of what a wife is and what a spouse is, what a mother is, what a mother-in-law is. All of this kind of things affect how I'm dealing with. I see how the youth see me, because I see how they talk and all of that. And the way I deal with them, it bounces back. So if I become more friendly, that's what they do. If I become more strict, that's what they do. If I have a hybrid of both, that's what happens. You see? So it decides, I keep working on myself, but I'm observing. It helps me with the self-development. So I become a better person every day, because I know how I feel and I know how people see me in the shade of how I see myself. So I see myself from inside. This is how I see myself. And I see how people see me. Not necessarily it is matching with how I see myself, but I see how they look at me. Some members of the community, they still see me as, somebody normal, doesn't matter what is the education and everything. Oh, the Mamdouh is the kid that we know him 27 years ago. They see it like that. I'm not going to bother, on how they see me, as long as I see myself and I know exactly what is my impact on the community. But I change the way I deal with them before accusing them that they're wrong. Why people disrespecting me, why they are seeing me like this, and I start accusing them and pointing fingers at them and become more irritated, and the problem is not solved. Well, their opinion they are entitled to. Are they affecting the community? No. If they are, then we'll deal with it. Are they affecting me? Yes. Why they are affecting me? Because I'm very, I take it personal. Why I'm taking it personal means I have ego. Means I'm worried about my image in front of the people. Why am I worried about my image in front of the people? That is self-awareness now, my value. Is my value how people see me only? Or how this person see me? What about the other 1,000 people who see me in a very positive position? Why I did not appreciate that? Why I always want everybody to do it? So it's about me. At the end of the day, self-awareness is key, subhanAllah, to our very existence. That's why I was saying in the khutbah, if you are aware that you are a servant of Allah, slave of Allah, it solves everything for you. So anything does not matter as long as you are living that role. You are a slave of Allah. That's what's going to lead you to the high, good position in the Day of Judgment in front of Allah. And that's what's going to help you with understanding your past. And that's what's going to help you to understand where you are now. So self-awareness are two types, internal and external, right? So you have people, when it comes to internal self-awareness, those who are in the high end, they are very clear on who they are, but do not challenge their own views or search for blind spots by getting feedback from others. This can harm the relationships and limit their success. So those want to, I want you to kind of having a cross, and there are 4 squares, right? Up to down, those who are high in awareness, they are up, and those 2 squares up. Left side is the low, and the right side is the high. But both of them actually high, okay? So the high, they are self-aware, and the low, they are not self-aware, all right? So the higher, self-aware, the lower are not self-aware, okay? But within the high, those on the left side, they are self-aware, but they're not aware of how people see them. That can harm them. But on the right side, they are aware. They know who they are, what they want to accomplish, and seek out and value others' opinions. This is where leaders begin to fully realize the true benefits of self-awareness. So you want to be on that above the line, and you want to be on the right side, not on the left side. Introspectors and seekers. So you are on the higher, self-aware seekers on the right side. So anything in this world, you will find people above the line and people below the line. People on the right side and people on the left side. Left side, they have half of what is required. Right side, they have full of what is required. So they function. Those are the leaders. Those are on the top, always. Prophets, messengers, leaders, political leaders, rich people, all of that, they are on the right side of every spectrum. Above the line, on the right side. Now we have people above the line, but in the left side, they lack. They're good, but they lack stuff. So they'll always be led, and they'll always be challenged, and they'll always be hurt. Below the line is both negative. So they are low in self-awareness, right? You have seekers also here. Seekers are good up there. Seekers are not good here. So seekers, they do not yet know who they are, what they stand for, or how their teams see them, how people see them. As a result, they might feel stuck or frustrated with their performance and relationships. I'm sure most of the community will relate to this one. I'm frustrated, my relationship stressing me, the children, the chores, too much work, always there, because they're not aware of who they are. They're not yet aware of who they are and what they stand for, or how their people see them. As a result, they feel stuck. frustrated with their performance and relationships. Then you have pleasers, people who please others. They can be so focused on appearing a certain way to others that they could be overlooking what matters to them. That also sounds familiar, right? So they focus on how they look like, stand in front of the mirror for long time. Why? Because they're going out. So why you are doing that? I'm sorry, sisters. I'm not gonna, take the fact that, oh, I'm doing it for myself. Come on, like we're beyond that now. Do it for yourself while you're at home. But you're going out now. Why everything changes every time you want to go out? So if you're doing it for yourself, do it for yourself. Not for your husband, no, not for anybody. I'm not saying that. Just do it for yourself. Why you only do that when you know that there are people who are going to see you? And people who are not, if there's no people who are going to see you, you don't worry much. So please be realistic. Let's be honest here. Why are you investing all this time? Because you are pleasers. You want people to see you in a certain way, but overlooking the fact that how these people actually want to see you. You already went in their shoes, decided how they should see you, and that would be the best way that they should see you. And you start acting on it, overlooking that who you are, how you should look like, how they should see you. It doesn't matter now. It is like completely off. So overlooking what matters to them. Over time, they tend to make choices that aren't in service of their own success and fulfillment. What I'm going to do this. Let me try to send it to the group. Sister Mariam, did you get it?
Are you, yes, I did.
So share it with the group. So this is the chart I'm talking about, right? I want you to memorize it, sisters, and decide where you are. There is no shame in you being in any of the squares, because you got to be in one of the squares. There is no problem. Don't be shocked if you are in the lower left side or right side. If you are in the higher right side, or doesn't matter. Actually, rarely somebody will be on the right above, the right upper side. It is rare. I'm not there. I do not see myself up there. Actually, in each of the squares, I see one issue that I am having there. So, please don't feel that. This is the whole idea of self-awareness, is to decide where you are. Is that clear, inshallah? So decide where you are. Now, self-awareness is part of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, the self-awareness, self-development, and then, social awareness and social development, right? So self-awareness, you are aware of who you are and aware of how people view you. Just aware, being aware of that. Self-development, based on this data, based on this knowledge, you want to develop yourself. So if you are in the lower, you want to be in the upper side. If you are in the left, you want to be on the right. That is the self-development one that we are going to discuss next time, inshallah. So this time we are self-awareness only. Okay. Then after that, in the emotional intelligence spectrum or category, you become aware of how people, the relationship with you. You start seeing the pattern also, how you act and interact and react to your children, to your spouse, to the people around you. This is different from self-awareness in the eyes of people. This is different. So now we are talking about relationships, right? But self-awareness is how you're seeing others see you, still about you. I'm seeing myself like this, and I'm seeing that people seeing me like this. That's still self-awareness. Self-development, how can I change this and make it better? This is the two steps of emotional intelligence. I'm self-aware, and this has two categories. I know who I am, and I see how people see me. I get that feedback. So now this too will help me take the next step of self-development. We're going to talk about it next week, inshallah. Now you're done with the self. You are self-aware and you are developing yourself constantly. Some of you already answered self-development as self-awareness, but there are two different steps. So once you're done with yourself, awareness and development, then you start observing only the relationship. How do I see the imam of the masjid? How do I see the people who pray behind me? How do I see my relationship with the masjid administration? How do I see my relationship with my family? How do I see this? Again, I'm not taking any decisions. I'm observing my relationship. I'm also observing how these people see me as part of that relationship. I am seeing my wife as my wife, and I want to know how she's seeing me as her husband. I want to know that too, because I'm a husband, right? I know my values as a husband. I know how I see myself as a husband, but I want to know for her feedback is more important, actually. Is that aligned with what I feel I'm a husband? Because sometimes I feel I'm a husband and I'm taking care of my wife, but I'm not actually taking care of my wife because her needs different from what I decided that to do. You see? So I have to observe that as well. Then I develop on that relationship, but after I get that. So basically, you're repeating the same thing for self-awareness, self-development, social awareness, social development. Is that clear, sisters? This diagram, is that clear in your head?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it is sometimes when we are trying to reflect on our self-awareness, sometimes some values, they come before others. So you have to make a list of those. And as Muslims, I think it's pretty much going to be the same at the end. Allah comes first. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah and His Rasul have to be dearer to you than anything in this world, and that's a reality. Now, is it practically the reality or not? You have to ask yourself. Because you may say that all what you want, but day-to-day life, not necessarily they are dearer to you than anything in the world. So you have to work on that. So basically, you have to state your values and arrange them properly and see what you believe in is matching what you do or not. Observe that as well. So you have to work on rearranging your values. I'll give you an example. Sometimes a person has a job or a career. Let's say he's a teacher, right? And he says, you know what? I want to change this teaching to administration and education still, but I want to be a principal. I have enough of teaching and all of that. Now he's not self-aware of all the details. So there's a value here, like there is something here that he wants to achieve. I'm a teacher, and I'm a good teacher, but I can be good as a principal. So let me pursue a career being in administration, educational administration instead of educational, teaching. They find the chance, but they overlooked the fact that they come late. So as a teacher, they were not self-aware of that value. That's why it went with them to the new career, even though they are very successful in it, better than when they were a teacher, but something was missing. So that's why when you're self-aware, there will always be missing stuff. So it's a constant process. You will see that you are overlooking something. That's why the course I took, about policy, design and delivery, they say that always you keep challenging your own theories. But what if this happened? What if somebody challenging me like this? What am I forgetting here? What are the weak points? So you keep analyzing and self-criticizing like that. That is awareness. So whenever you go make the presentation, you kind of answer the questions before they are asked. So when I'm making the presentation, I always assume what I'm going to be asked. And then I said, if someone may come and ask me a question on this, and here's that. And based on that answer, they will be challenged by 2, 3 different things. 1, 2, 3, and the solution for that, such and such. So people see that their questions are answered before they even ask them. So they respect that person who spent that time. Because, save the effort, save the embarrassment, save the everything, so they know that this is someone that they can depend on. And whenever Allah sent messengers, subhanahu wa ta'ala, used to do that. So the messenger come and said, I'm a messenger from the Lord. I'm not going to ask you any money. And here are my proofs. Before they ask him, who are you? He said, I'm a messenger. From who? From God. What is the proof? Here is the proof. Oh, what do you want from us? What is the catch? What is the catch? There's no catch. I'm not asking you any money. I want you to be saved. So basically, that is self-awareness. They're aware exactly of their job and what they need to do and how they perform it to the best way possible. But self-awareness isn't one truth. It's a balance of different things. And you have to know where you stand in each of the categories. In relationships, how you stand. In reaction to people, how you stand. In proaction, how you stand. Somebody's not proactive. Well, we cannot tell them you have to be proactive. Somebody is like introvert. You cannot tell him being introverted will be always the bottom line. No. So they are aware of themselves. Alhamdulillah, they will function very good. So it's not like a one size fits all. You have to be aware and having those values. This is the list. No, you are a slave of Allah, yes. But how are you going to do that? This is up to you. Some people, they do extra tahajjud. Some people do extra fasting. Some people do extra sadaqah. But at the end of the day, they manifest their slavery to Allah in a different way. So that's okay, as long as you're manifesting it somehow. But not manifesting it is the issue. Right? So basically, you have to know where you stand in each category. You cannot be like brave in everything. You cannot be generous in everything. You cannot be early in everything. It doesn't work like that. So it's a very delicate process. Self-awareness is. It's a very delicate process. And by the way, there are what do you call the assessments, self-awareness assessments. So take one of those. Go online and find some good websites and find the self-awareness assessment. Let me yeah. So Sister Mariam, you can, inshallah, look and let me know whatever you'll find, self-awareness assessment, because you can find something like, sponsored or done by Harvard or Yale or government or something like that. Those are the ones that we go for. Okay, you do not. Yeah. So there is a self-awareness here. I'm looking at. It is by the University of Virginia, I think. Okay. So go look for those. Okay. And try to send them by me, and psychology websites, like something like it's legit, right? So self-awareness. I want each one of you to take that self-awareness assessment.
Can I just had maybe an observation also on this. There are two things that I was just thinking of why people do not readily self-observe, are into self-awareness processes, right? Like there are two things that I think we miss out on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing I feel like people think it is time consuming. It's an activity. You have to be in solidarity. You have to be by yourself. You have to be in isolation to kind of sit down, think, maybe journal. So people think of it as a time-consuming activity, maybe number one. And number two, I feel like the emotional state of self-awareness is initially it brings upon shame. So you have to first be accepting of, this is, I know you said first observe, but that observation results in, oh, I'm doing something wrong. So we go into that denial stage. So I think these two things kind of prevent us from going into activities that are for self-awareness. What are your thoughts on that?
It's good. Actually, this is part of self-awareness, to see what is hindering you from self-awareness. But you have to understand what is self-awareness first, right? Self-awareness is observing. So the fail to observe is a step after knowing what to observe, right? So because they are not shown or told what to observe or what to look for, they fail to see it. Because, every time you say, every day I'm passing by this shopping center, I never observed that this kind of store is there until you pointed it out. You know what I'm saying? So first you have to tell people what to look for. And if they don't look for it, now they have a problem with motivation. They have a problem with other things. But you cannot accuse them unless they know what to look for.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. This is Maimuna. But I think, isn't part of it is the culture? Like, I didn't grow up, or at least for me, didn't grow up thinking about all these self-awareness things, right? It's not very common that somebody even taught us to be aware, like you said, to be self-aware of this and that about yourself and things, right?
Right.
I don't think my parents' generations, they were on a survival mode, kind of put food on the table. They don't have time for all this. But now I feel like only now my generations at this stage in my life that I have the luxury to start knowing what is self-aware, at this.
I see what you're saying.
To look, like you say, what to look for, right? I didn't even know that the store was there until you pointed out, oh, did you see that store? Just like now with all this talk about self-aware, well, I thought I know myself, but in the way you put at it, well, maybe I don't know myself.
I think I will second Sister Maimuna. I think one of the most prominent Far Eastern culture is that I will tell you who you are, and it comes down the generation that way.
Yeah. When you're young, the parents tell you, and then when you older, you're just busy with life and you don't stop to breathe and think about all these.
I like that, but are you ready for the shocker?
Yes.
From the minute the Quran is revealed, it teaches us self-awareness. It teaches us who we are. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. خلق الإنسان من علق. اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. You are insan and he is Allah. You have to read in his name. You live in his name. Everything in his name. He created you and you're going to go back to him. You see what I'm talking about? Every ayah of the Quran teaches you self-awareness. But the problem is that culture trumped it.
I never made that connection, though. We were never taught to make that connection.
I know, but that's the problem.
Yeah.
So problem is not in us. Problem is that, subhanAllah, we are the byproduct of a culture that marginalized the true essence of Islam, unfortunately.
Right.
I want to add,
Muslims were the leaders of the world because they were self-aware at all times.
Right.
All the time. The Prophet ﷺ was aware. He's telling his Sahaba, you have to know who you are. Even they were tortured, even they were killed, even they were persecuted, telling them there is a goal, they are self-aware, you are doing something great. Allah telling us you are the best ummah raised for mankind. Allah has honored you. Allah is the one who created you in the best of shapes. You see, Quran is always saying that. Isn't it?
We lost the connection somewhere down the line.
Exactly, but Quran is speaking to you about self-awareness day and night.
Yeah.
Day and night. It's telling you who you are. Just read the Quran and you will see what I'm saying. Read one Quran from beginning to end and have a pencil in your right hand, and every ayah that it is defining who you should be, mark it. And you will be surprised.
Sorry.
You'll be surprised. Every single hadith of the Prophet. What is the value of that hadith if you do not relate to it? And when the Prophet ﷺ said he's not a complete believer, the one whose neighbor is not saved from his trouble. So you're going to ask, reflect on yourself, am I giving any trouble to my neighbor? What is my relationship to my neighbor? When is the last time that I was good to my neighbor? It teaches you self-awareness. Every single teaching telling you what to do and what not to do. You should ask yourself, am I doing that? Why I'm not doing that? When did I do that last? When I intend to do it? That is actually self-awareness. Every single teaching of Islam, but nobody drew that connection for you. That's the problem.
Right.
Sister
That is the
Fatima, you have
problem.
your sorry. Sister Fatima, you have your hand up. You wanted to say something?
Yes, and I wanted to say this from the beginning, but I'm glad you brought it up, Maimuna, and I want to ask Sheikh Mamdouh, in the educational I'm in the educational system, and I know in the curriculum design, when we design things for kids, self-awareness is a big thing here in America. Like the way the kids are raised from the beginning, they try to make them aware of themselves. And in everything, whether it's during subjects, during emotional learning, and all of these things. There are plenty of tests also, like upper level, like you mentioned, there's so many research around that. Now, the thing is, I feel there is a lack of, and it's hard to make a connection to something that is not Islamically appropriate for you. Like as Muslims, it's really hard to, when you see those tests and the results, like some of them would be like, well, you like listening to music. Well, but I don't. This is kind of, so this is, you get the connection and then you disconnect automatically and you see that those things are two separate things. So I feel, and I wish you could give me some examples about ways that in our educational system, and for teachers and students to develop the self-awareness from the kids until they're little. And this should happen with the teachers and students, not only students by themselves. And I love this example with Iqra from the Quran, but we really have to combine those tests into one and relate them to us specifically. And I don't know how.
This is an Ummah project. It is not a one person's project. I'm telling you, this is sad, but it's the truth. But you know what? Us being self-aware as an Ummah also is very important. Even if we teach the next generation to do that job, you know what I mean? So it's not like, first step to develop is to be aware. So you already described what is the problem. We are in a culture that teaching self-awareness, but not necessarily with the same values that our religion teaching it. So let's take that structure, let's take that skeleton and modify it. Like, for example, I put the high value as I am a slave of Allah Azza wa Jal, right? But here, it's not based on that. Over here, it's based on find yourself, what is your desire, pursue your dreams, regardless. They are not belonging to any divine message or any value of any type. Yes? So basically, that is the big, huge difference. So you take that and put it within the Islamic perspective. It's not a hard work, by the way. It just need to be done on individual levels first, with our weekend schools, with our Islamic schools. And I'm trying to do that at Masjid Salam now, to be involved in the weekend school curriculum and see how can we develop that. Because here they ask the kids how you identify. Okay, what if the kids say that I identify as an avatar, blah, 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 blah. You tell them, yeah, go ahead and pursue it. This is good, be an avatar. So what is that anyways? You leave a child who is not even completely mentally developed decide how their identity is going to be for the rest of their life, or telling them to identify now as such, and maybe you can change it later on, means you're actually teaching them the identity is having no identity. Your identity is you can change it at any time. Isn't that what is happening now? So basically, you can identify as you like at any time, however you like, and you can change it at any time.
Yes, I mean, this is the self-awareness that they push for.
What
because
kind of self-awareness is that?
It's completely wrong. That's the thing, is like, it's in the curriculums, it's everywhere though. If you look at the curriculum, how they are made in schools, they are made to make the child self-aware of things that they can be, and it's already embedded, and we're using them in Islamic schools and everywhere.
I get it. I know. I'm
it's
discussing
hard,
with you now that it is politics and money that is pushing all of this. It is not educators. If you go and read actually real scholarly articles about that, you'll see what I'm telling you, that they are doing the opposite of what they are saying that they are doing. You know, what is an identity? Identity is not how you see. Identity is something that everybody can identify with. My identity, that everybody have to see that this is my identity. So what is the point of I am the only one who is able to define what my identity is? What is the point of that? Like, how does that help you? Right? If you do not know what I'm going to be tomorrow, how are you going to deal with me? Tell me. Like, you do not know what I'm going to be tomorrow. Are you telling me identify and get and stay with it? You're not telling me that. You're saying that you can be whoever you want to be, yes? What if I wake up tomorrow and I don't see that I'm a sheikh? Then how are we going to deal with me now? And then I become a sheikh again, and then I become no sheikh again, and I become a child, and I become a woman, and I become this, and I become that. So what? It will create chaos. So basically, the whole idea is not to be self-aware. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people were saying that, women's rights. So everybody who believes that they fight for women's rights, they end up being a tool in the hand of the people who do not want women's rights to be served. You know what I'm saying here? It's an irony. So, like, for example, someone come and say, Sheikh Mamdouh, we need to make a council for imams in the United States, and you become the leader of it, and this will give you the right. And now I believe in that. Actually, it's a very good cause, right? Very, very good cause. But one thing I'm not aware of, that I'm being used for a political agenda of someone who does not actually like religious leaders. He wants them to be in one place, so when they destroy them at once, not one by one. So basically, the way I'm seeing it, I'm seeing like we are not united, and that's why, and we should be united. But it should be our effort, not someone else using us. So you find the famous sheikh, he goes and serves the agenda of a political party, Democrats or Republicans, thinking that he is giving exposure to Islam and everybody doing that. But at the end of the day, he is serving the agenda of the Democratic or Republican Party. At the end of the day, he's being used for that. He's used as an image that million Muslims behind him or her, and they're going to be voting for the Democrats. That's what so they are used while they are actually think that they are serving a goal. So I have to wait myself here. Do I want to become a celebrity and famous and compromise my impact on Masjid al-Salam community? Is it worth it to become an international figure and abandon the 10, 15 people that I am working with here to change the world? Maybe they change the world, maybe not. Maybe they'll change only 100 people. Maybe in 1,000 years, they will change 1 million people. I don't know. But, do I compromise that for being a celebrity and I have 2 million followers on social media? Or no? I decide no, actually. I cannot be anybody's chess piece. And that's what is happening. I'm sorry if I'm complicating issues for you, or I'm going like wider than, but I want you to be mature enough to think about the big picture of things. Sometimes you get drawn to things, but you do not know who's encouraging you or empowering you, what is their own agenda. And that is actually an emotional intelligence. You have to know what these people are, who these people are. Now I have to finish and go for Salah, inshallah. All right?
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah
Thank
khair.
you very
Jazakallah
much
khair.
for this.
Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.